Throughout the void, different species trade with each other. Due to this, there's always commerce, there's always ships, there's always cargo to be moved, and that means there's always need for crew members. There's always employment there. It's expected of one when they are taken into a crew that they must work and work hard. It's also expected for you to follow the commands of the captain and the command crew without question. Depending on the crew, this will include using your leisure time to remove stress from the captain or the members of the crew. With many of the smaller or weaker or slower species, the only way to be accepted into a crew is to surrender your dignity in such ways. Many refuse and will never be taken as crewmates ever again. They will be stuck on the station earning very little pay for just as hard of a job. Regardless of their technical prowess, this is just the way transport ships are that transport goods. This is their way of doing things, their society, the way they have devolved. That is, until the first human heavy freight hauler arrived in the cesspool of the galaxy, a deep space transit station, number 9, they call it. The humans would always look at it and think there's no greater place full of scum and villainy. The humans surprise everybody as they walk around after docking their ship, all strong and clean as they enter the station after offloading supplies. Most go straight to the bar to find some sort of entertainment to relax after a hard trip. Of course, they also mentioned that they're looking for additional crew. Everybody in the bar should have known there was something different about the human crew. They couldn't put their finger or tentacle or claw or whatever it might be on it. However, as the crew converse with a pair of Digaton, as the Digaton barter for their pay for the job, a very large smoosh forced the pair away and stated, "I will be the one joining your crew." This made the humans simply look up at it, look at the two that got pushed off to the side, and as they did, they realized that the Digatons are a prey species, only about 80% the height of the humans, strict vegetarians, and they're so thin that the humans have a nickname for them. They call them cornstalks. Though this also might have something to do with their deep green skin. If one was to look at them, they would think that they're just a shrunk-down human with slightly more bent ears that are a little bit higher on the head. But aside from that, it'd be hard-pressed to tell them apart. In that same moment, the Smush reaches down, grabs the drinks of the Digatons, and slams them down his throat, immediately commenting how trash their drinks were before belching loud enough for the entire bar to hear. Other Smush across the bar cheered as this was meant to be a sign of dominance in their own terms. The human that had been negotiating with the Digatons turns to another human, a human much larger, and gives them just a look. The second human, which is much more broad, immediately grabbed their drink, turned it up, and ingested an entire 2 quarts worth of malted alcohol, then slammed the mug on the table with enough force that everybody was paying attention. He then stood up, moved himself side to side a little bit, arched his back, and then leaned forward in a strange posture. At that moment, he let out a belch so loud enough to put all the schmoosh in the bar to shame at the same time, beating all of them in all categories: length, volume, and chunkiness. Feeling the tinge of pride as he just got belched in the face and put completely to shame, the smooch then demanded the humans pay him for such an insult. Along with that, now demands double the ridiculous amount of pay that he demanded for saying that he would be part of the crew no matter what. Undeterred, the formerly belching human simply yelled over to the bartender for shot glasses, a bunch of shot glasses, and when they arrived, he reached into his bag and pulled out a bottle of perfectly clear liquid. Upon seeing this, everyone was confused, And then the human loudly challenged the smoosh to a drinking contest, saying, "A contest of sheer physical and mental durability." This was enough to get their attention, and all the smoosh joined him as he poured the liquid. They all took their glasses, and the human simply raised it up and yelled, "Nostrovia!" before slamming the fluid back and then slamming the glass down onto the table upside down, right before giving a noticeable shiver before looking all of them in the eyes. The schmooze, not one to back down from a challenge, slammed their drinks down their drooling jowls, and before they even put the glasses down, half of them had spit it out all over the ground and all over the crowd, showing that they were too weak for the drink itself. Yet, because they had at least put it in their mouth, and some of it did go down their stomach, they began doubling over and rolling in pain. Another insult. A quarter of those that had shot opened their eyes as wide as they could as they felt the liquor go deep into their stomach, right before not saying anything, but falling down in an unconscious heap. The rest simply went into convulsions on the ground, screaming how much they hurt, how much it burned. They couldn't take it. It was too much. Call the medics. They needed something, as they started crying and screaming as though they were fresh off the teat themselves. As this show happened, the human that had poured that drink poured himself another and yelled, "Fracking lightweights, couldn't even hold your liquor," before slamming it back down again. After that, the human proceeded to drink all the predator species under the table and then woke them up to do shots. Eventually, the night spun down, but before leaving, the humans that had conducted the interviews for new crew members stood up and told the two Digatons and a few others, "Remember, Docking Bay, Alpha 13, 0800 tomorrow. Don't be late." The humans got up and left in a large group, and a few of them staggered out the door as the extremely strong 189 proof liquor was really doing a job on them. Though before they left, the one that had started the drinking contest said, Wait, we forgot something." He walked over to the Picatard who was tending the bar. The strange tentacle creature was sitting there and seemed a little nervous as the human staggered over to him. Then he realized something, as a strange, large piece of metal flew his way. The Picatard grabbed it and realized that it was a heavy credit. He didn't understand what he was getting paid for until the human said, "Yeah, sorry about the mess," as he motioned over to the different Xenos that were now on the ground groaning in pain. At 0800 at Docking Bay A13, 17 new crew of 6 different species waited patiently for the humans to emerge from their ship. When they did, they confirmed the identities of those waiting and showed everyone to the new quarters. Though 85% of the ship was actually set up for cargo specifically, the rest was set up to allow a very pleasant journey for the crew when not on duty. Even at FTL, the distances they had to move these cargo would make sure they were going to be in transit for days, weeks, sometimes months. This amazed them all. Also, the fact that there would be little in the way of physical labor, as humanity had automated most of the cargo ship. In particular, the bay to offload and onload different cargo. Their job, as they found out, would be different. Their job would be to teach the crew about alien technology, philosophies, and cultures, and see if there was anything they could possibly optimize. This was extremely different from other ships, considering how Spartan everyone had to live on other ships just to make a little bit of coin. Plus, the food usually didn't smell that good, and the beds were just some hard piece of metal. They were just absolutely surprised. Was this a working ship, or was this a luxury liner? But that wasn't the biggest surprise. The biggest surprise was when the crewmates asked when they should arrive at the captain's or command crew's quarters for, as they said, additional duties. When they said this in front of the captain, the XO, and the command crew, The entire human crew actually froze and looked confused. The captain asked, "What the frack are you talking about?" When the new crew members explained what was expected on all the ships, the last of the new crew actually finally walked in with their heads down and nothing on, expecting, since they looked so similar to humans, that they would have to be, well, ready to do their additional duties. In their minds, it's better to already be prepared in such ways than to have to mend clothing or to constantly wash it. In the group of those that had prepared for their additional duties was a young digniton female. She had taken this job to make sure that she could send credits back to her family, yet she had not had to disgrace herself yet. She realized that this species was much larger and definitely stronger than her, and she shook in fear at the idea of what was happening, and she shook almost violently as she heard a male simply stand up and run towards her, removing his outer torso garment. She was about to cry and scream, and then she felt the cloth wrap around her. She looked up to see the human with concern, or is it anger? Confusion. What is it on its face? With a soft tone, the man told her, "We, as in humans, do not have such practices, though I'm sure eventually a few will fall prey to such idiocy on this ship. Activities such as those are performed by consenting parties only. In our culture, forcing someone to do that is very likely to get them spaced. We don't have cops out here, constables, police, or anything like that. We have to take the law into our own hands, and we have our own rules." She looked up into his eyes and then looked to the other humans and realized he wasn't lying. Then she thought that if they were willing to do that, to space somebody, the thought of choking to death on absolutely nothing while you float helplessly in an airlock is true nightmare fuel. So the thought of that just by taking someone? The new crew were given time to adjust to this, as they had no idea. And by the center of the journey, they realized that the humans were absolutely not joking, as they kept their hands to themselves. In fact, they kept their distance as much as possible. It is normal for many of the different species to have a lot of touch between the species. That is how they communicate a lot of times. But it seems as though the humans kept backing away. They didn't understand. But they did have their own job to focus on. Nearing the end of the journey, a few of the new crewmen were getting more and more curious about activities with the humans. That is when a female quick asked a female human if it was a good idea to take a human male as a one-time mate. The human female smirked slyly and then looked a little bit to the side before answering, "Only if you think you can handle it. Go for it." When the heavy cargo hauler finally reached its destination, the additional new tech from different species allowed them to offload and load up faster than a dozen dock crews could even handle, constantly telling the human ship to slow down. They couldn't keep up, and those on the human ship just kept saying, "No, you need to move faster." To no one's surprise, more human ships were actually docked as they were getting closer to human space, and all the non-human crews began to spread the word about how they had been treated aboard human ships. That was almost 20 years ago. Now the majority of cargo is moved via human ships. Each time they dock with a station, a colony, an outpost, or even a homeworld, there are always more species wanting to be part of their crew, and they would work exceptionally hard to keep the position inside that ship. It isn't just that the food is really good. It isn't just the pay is really good. It's not just that the ships are much more comfortable than any others you would find. It isn't just that the humans are unbelievably friendly and have rules that everyone can understand and live by. It isn't just that no one doesn't have to soil their dignity when they go on a human ship. No, it is mainly because of what the first crew said when asked, "Why do you not just accept the strongest and most dominant for your crew? Dominant species. They would be able to move the cargo by hand. You wouldn't even need the machines. They could do it." The answer from the humans was, "There's enough problems without some jerks trying to prove themselves by doing something stupid. There's a million ways to die out here, you know that, and they all suck. Also, there's another reason." "And what is that?" "We really, really don't like bullies, and we like to take them on every chance we get. And you know those trading companies that used to take advantage of you all the time just to make some extra coin?" "Yes." "Well, we don't like those. The Eastern Ada Trading Company. And I still can't pronounce it right. But they's nothing but bullies." Hello everybody, this is Syntax. Thank you so much for joining me on this short story. Before I go, I need to send out some special thank yous to a few of my supporters, and those will be Erica Gem, Brian Kemp, SS Demon, Chris Dixon, Guardian Sage, and Sir. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Everybody else, I'll see you on the next one. This is Syntax, punching out.